Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to be sharing with you how to cut and sew this stylish dress with side gathers. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and let's dive right into today's video. So to start, here is my pattern and I added 1/2 inch round all the way for this pattern. So for this I only added at the upper part, at the lower part, and in front. So I didn't add by the side of the bustier because I already added my sewing allowance. So the next step I'll take is to go ahead to open this up. You notice that we have like an opening in front. I'm going to take note of that and I'll mark it. Now I'm going to place this together and I'll be stitching this with 1/2 inch. So whatever I do on my main fabric, I'm also going to do it on the lining piece. So now I'm just going to go ahead to place this and I'll be stitching it down with 1/2 inch all the way to the lower part of my pattern. And after I'm done doing that, I'm going to go ahead to open it up for you to see. So this is the center part and we're going to stop here to create the opening. Going over to the side of this pattern, I'm going to be placing this way and I'll be stitching with 1/2 inch. So I'm making this dress like in form of an already to wear dress, so I won't be adding a padding to it unless you want to pad yours. And if you notice, when we were drafting this dress, at the upper part I did not take up to 1 inch. This is so that my dress won't come out looking curvy at the upper part. So for the back I added 1/2 inch at the upper part, at the lower part, and the joining to the side, but at the zipper area I did not add. So what you're going to do now, this zipper allowance, you're going to go ahead to mark it on the dress. So I'm taking note of that. So I used my pattern paper to mark that part out. So for this part of the pattern I added 1/2 inch all the way around and I didn't add by the side because we have already added our sewing allowance. Now I'm going to open this up and I will place it stitch with 1/2 inch and join it. So whatever I'm doing to this part I'll also do to the other side, and I will be stitching or joining my lining also. So the fabric I'm using is a bit thick and also my lining is very thick, so that's why I didn't bother ironing an estay to this. But if you're using a very light fabric or light lining, go ahead to iron estay to your fabric. So after I'm done joining my pattern, this is what I have. I joined it with 1/2 inch and I also joined this part with 1/2 inch. So now I'm going to go ahead to stitch here with 1/2 inch, stitch the neckline with 1/2 inch, stitch the zipper side with 1/2 inch, stitch the lower side also with 1/2 inch. So the only part I won't stitch is the other side, which will be adding gathers to it. I'll also repeat the same thing to the other side of my pattern. So next, this is the front part. I've gone ahead to stitch it up with 1/2 inch just like I said, and you notice the center we left it open. So this 1/2 inch we use in joining, trim it out a bit because we have an opening at the center of the dress. So I'll just go ahead and cut this out, and now I'm going to pin that part very well, and after pinning it I'll be stitching on it. Now I'll stitch very closely to it. The more you stitch, the more open that part is. So I'll be stitching with less than 0.5. I'm just marking it out. Then at the side I'll go ahead to stitch with 1/2 inch and also stitch with 1/2 inch at this part. Now also stitch the lower part, open this up, iron it, and stitch it down with 1/2 inch. I'll just leave the upper part for now. So moving over to the sleeve, I used my pattern to cut this out. So now I'll go ahead to cut in the armhole more because I'm going to be attaching the neckline. I'm going to be attaching the sleeve to the upper part of the dress, and also here I'll be creating an elastic casing. I'll be folding the upper part and also the lower part. Go ahead to insert elastic casing to it. So for the elastic casing, go ahead to take measurement from your chest line to the back chest line, that is from the front armhole to the back armhole. So for me, I had about 12 inches, but I ended up using 11 inches because I wanted the upper part of my sleeve to be fitted. And then for the wrist, go ahead to take the measurement around your wrist to cut your elastic. So after I was done sewing, I'll go ahead to notch this. You need to notch this part very well. If not, the center part of your dress will not relax very well. After notching, go ahead to check it out first. If it's not well relaxed, go ahead to re-notch it again. So this is me checking mine, and I feel it's not relaxed enough, so I'll go ahead to notch it again. After notching it, I'll top stitch round that point. So here is the sleeve after I have added my elastic to it. So now I'll go ahead and I will turn the back pattern also, and this is what I have. I'll go ahead to iron all this out so that it will be very relaxed. So after I'm done, this is what I have, and I'll also increase the armhole of my back pattern. So I'll also be showing you a trick on how I achieve the back part of my dress to be very fitted. So I will repeat the same process on this other side of the back also. Go ahead to cut out your excess lining and notch the areas round your back pattern so that it will be flat. So now I'm going to place this together, and I will be stitching it down with 1 inch because I've already turned out my dress with my lining. So I have 1 inch remaining, and make sure that this stitching you're going to do at the lower part of the dress starts after the hip point. So I'm going to flip this part this way, and I'll be stitching it down with 1/2 inch at the upper part. After stitching it down, this is what I have. Now I'll be measuring about 1.5 inch inwards from my armhole, and I will also repeat it at the other side, or you use 2 inches. So I'll bring my sleeve now, and I'm going to start attaching it to the dress. So I'll just go ahead to place this way, and I will stitch it with 1/2 inch from this part to the armhole side. So you can go ahead to pin this if you're going to find it difficult, or you can just go ahead and place and stitch and pin it down. So I'll also repeat the same process at the other side of my dress. I'll also pin it down, and I will go ahead to pin it, and I will be stitching this part with 1/2 inch. After stitching on this part or pinning it down, before going ahead to pin, I'm going to bring my back pattern so that when I'm doing the stitching, I'll do it at once. Now I've gone ahead to stitch down my back pattern just like I marked earlier, and I attached my zipper to it. So now for this back pattern, I'll be recutting the armhole. Why am I doing this? This is so that I will not have gaping at the back of the dress. If I attach my sleeve to this dress this way, my back pattern might have gaping on it. So I'll just go ahead and increase the armhole. I'll come in by 1.5 from my original armhole, or 2 inches from my original armhole, and recut. Now I'll take this way, place, and I will stitch. So if what I have on the sleeve is more than the armhole, I'll just pleat it a little round the armhole, and I'll be stitching it down with 1/2 inch. Also repeat this at the other side of my dress. Another way to avoid gaping at the back of your dress is at the zipper side. Instead of using your exact zipper allowance, you're going to go ahead to use more than that to join or attach your zip. So after attaching my sleeve, I went ahead to pin down my dress, and now I'm going to cut out the excess that I have on the dress. Make sure that your pattern or your dress is matching this. To shape my dress, I'll come in with 1 inch at both sides. So remember, when we are drafting our pattern, our sewing allowance was 1.5 inches. So I will mark 1 inch because I've used 1/2 inch to shape out my dress. But when you're marking this at the bust area of your dress, instead of using that exact 1 inch, go in by extra 1/2 inch, that is 1.5 at the bust. This will help hold the bust area very well and make that part of your dress to be fitted. So I'll just go ahead and I will check my measurements if it aligns with my pattern. but for the bust part of the dress, make sure that it is fitted. So from here, I'm just going to stitch with 1 inch all the way down to my sleeve, because when we were cutting the sleeve, I only added 1 inch for sewing allowance. So moving over to the side of my pattern, so for what I have here, I just made use of 36 inches. So for the gathers part or pleat side, I used 1 yard. So I've already placed this part of my side pattern. So to place the other side, you're not going to start with this side that has the center. So when you're making your dress, the hip side of your dress is supposed to meet each other. So instead of placing it directly, I will turn it the other way round. So I don't know if you understand. C is for center, meaning the part going towards the center, and S is the side, the part going towards the hip. So if you're placing your pattern now, the side going towards the hip is supposed to meet each other. So this is the third pattern. Instead of placing it from the right side, for the part going towards the back, I will turn it the other way around, so that it will take the same shape that I have on this part. Because coming from the other side, we have center 1, which is the part going towards the center of the front, center 2, the part going towards the front part of the dress. Then we have side 3, S means side, and the fourth one is the hip point. So to start the other side, you have to start on the hip also, because your hip in the front and your hip at the back is meeting. So what you're going to do now is to go ahead to cut out. So if you want to have more pleats or gathers at the gathered part of the dress, all you have to do is use more fabric, maybe like 2 yards or 1.5. So when you're cutting this, make sure you add about 1/2 inch on top of your pattern. So what I'll do next is that part that my hip meets, I will notch it. That is the middle, that is the part that you'll be joining at the side of your dress. So after this, I'll just go ahead and fold the lower part of this dress, and now I'll be attaching it to the dress. So that notched part we have, that is the part we are joining to this joining we have at the side. I don't know if you understand. So if you have any question, also ask at the comment section. So I'll start pinning from the lower part this way. So I'll go ahead and I will pin this, and I'll start pinning the side. When I get to that point that I have the joining of the center and the bustier part, and I'll go ahead to pleat this, and I'll start pleating it to the center part. That is the part that I joined my dress at the front and also at the back to meet the center. So I'm going to continue pinning this also till I get to the side where I joined my back pattern to the, that is the center part of my pattern, to the side going towards the zip also. She got my back, I'm happy that say everything I do is for my woman. So after this, I'll go ahead and I'll start pinning this all the way to the other side, and I will pin and gather this just like I did at the other side of the dress. Loving you, now my ritual. So I'll go ahead and I will stitch this down with 1/2 inch, and I will repeat the same process at the other side. So after I'm done sewing, so remember when we were cutting out, I cut out a little pattern paper for this part, so I used it to cut out this upper part. So I'm just going to go ahead to place it this way, and I will top stitch it on and also repeat it at the other side of the pattern. So after I'm done sewing, this is the final look of the dress. If you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, Please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and join me in our next video. Thanks.